It was 7 or 8 years ago, and things were going really well at the church. Our attendance was growing, people were responding to the vision, our staff was functioning really well, and we were seeing lives transformed as people connected with Jesus Christ. But financially, we found ourselves in a precarious position. I remember being very frustrated at that time because I felt like we were leading the church well in so many areas, and yet this one area we just couldn't seem to get traction in. I remember sharing that with our church board, and then sometime shortly after, I was on vacation with my family. We were at the zoo in D.C., and I remember getting a phone call from a board member that said they had found a van, which we desperately needed. The problem was, we didn't have money to pay for it, and we needed to open a line of credit. I knew that something had to change. I remember that things did turn around fairly quickly. It didn't happen overnight, but we saw Ron Lutz and Sean Greenland and some other gifted financial people begin to really give time and attention to our finances, helped us in planning our budget and tracking and managing our expenses, and we were able to create some margin and see some reserves developed. So fast forward now, 7 or 8 years later, we find ourselves in a completely different position. We've seen our budget continue to grow over the last number of years. It's increased by 20% over the past 3 years. Just last December, our church family, in addition to our general budget giving, gave $158,000 toward paying off the mortgage on this facility. We were able to complete that mortgage payment in January, 7 years ahead of schedule. We've also seen a really strong financial team develop, led by our treasurer, Mitch Martin. People like Sean Greenland and Mary Wenger and Sean Kleckner, Sam Burt, and Dave Hellman have done a phenomenal job giving oversight to our $1.1 million budget as volunteers. We've also been able to create margin in our budget and establish a reserve that right now is about $125,000. We've seen a total turnaround over these past 7 or 8 years. And as I think about that financial turnaround that has taken place, there are two things that especially excite me. First of all, I really had nothing to do with it. It came about because we had gifted financial people who had a passion for finances, really begin to give time and energy to managing and planning our finances, and that's really just gone extremely well. The second thing I'm excited about is the way that you've responded as a church family. You've met our budget needs as the budget has continued to grow here. You've also responded very well when we've had other needs that we've put before you, and I want to thank you for your generous and faithful giving. Next week, in part 2 of this video series, I'm going to be trying to answer a question that I hope all of you as members of McBIC are asking, and that is, what happens to the money that I give to McBIC? Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you next week.